Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first of a month-long celebration of all things gaming, Fallout, Elder Scrolls, that we're getting together with Wes Johnson once again for Voiceapalooza 2023 for an amazing cause, the Alzheimer's Association. How you doing, Wes? Here we are.
I'm doing great. I'm
Year
very
two.
excited.
Year
Year
two.
two. We're exhausted already, Ken.
We
We've
are.
got so many things that have been planned. We've got so many surprises coming up for folks. It's so many people want to help this year. We have so many streamers around the globe who are joining in this battle against Alzheimer's. We have so many voice actors who are like, hey, let us help. Let us jump in and let us do something. I mean, this is a despicable disease that has affected so many people, so many families. And what's great about what we're doing here with you at Fallout for Hope and with Voiceapalooza is we're having fun for funds. We're going to raise money. We're going to drop the gloves and we're going to sock one to Alzheimer's. And in the meantime, we're going to do it with a month-long celebration of gaming, of Bethesda, of Skyrim, of the Elder Scrolls, Fallout, so many other games. We have just so many surprises in store for you. I'm very excited.
Yeah, as am I. For this very first stream, we've got something a little special planned. So last year, for the very first time, we started to take a look at the modding side of the community that very much keeps the spirit of the games that we love alive, recreating and expanding on the worlds that we've kind of grown up and loved, the worlds of Bethesda, ZeniMax, most appropriately of which we're going to talk a little bit about Morrowind, and we're joined by some very special people today. In addition to Wes, we're joined by Elizabeth Noone and David Deboy, both original cast members of voicing Morrowind. They're now, what, 26 years ago?
I was yesterday.
I was 4.
You too, right?
Yeah. We were all so much younger then.
It was grand, but you know what? The fact of the matter is, with voice actors, we can still play the young parts. Why it's only in video games and voice work that I can have 6-pack abs.
Liz, tell us a little bit about some of the roles that you did back in Morrowind in the very beginning, and a little bit.
You know, it's like really going back in time. That's for damn sure. But what we were talking about before is that the sessions were they were so creative, and you know, it was before there were so many games. I mean, this was relatively new, so the development of your character was so important. And you got time to, I think, with the elders and the Argonian females and the Orc females, you established a personality about them. You know, even with that gargantuous size and the visual part of them, they still resonated as a person. If you will.
You were so method, Elizabeth, that it took almost a year for you to get those lizardy scales off.
Well, yeah, and they're still picking at them, you know. But you know, it was such fun, and it was a lot of hard work, as everybody knows who's in it for hours. You know, you're hoping you still have a voice after it. But,
yes. Something that we were talking about before the stream got started, I didn't know. So you said that Todd Howard himself voice directed you for that one.
Yeah. Todd was there in the studios. Wow. We did it at absolute pitch. Chip Ellinghaus was our engineer at the time. And we would go into those rooms and we talk to them about, ask Todd, what do you think of this character? Where would we go with this? And he'd tell us about it. He'd show us some sheets of some characters and give us an idea. Right. Now, the only person I saw when I was doing the Bretons was Socia Sergala. And I was like, Sucius. And I'm like, well, you know, every character I'm playing is going to be bald with a white goatee. That's basically how that goes. So I played all the Bretons pretty much that way. We were back in the day when we're doing all of the the races were very similar. They were all a similar voice. So if you're an Argonian, you all sounded the same. If you were Bretons, you all sounded the same. Imperials, all the same. Basically, there's a whole lot of inbreeding in Morrowind at the time.
But Wes, with that being said, I remember still feeling a very definitive personality with the characters.
Well, yeah, and depending upon who they were, yeah. Well, how many different races did you play? I mean, I know that I played a number of the different. I played Daedric princes. I played with some orcs. I was the Bretons in that game, and there were occasionally a few people running around who sounded like Sean Connery, who were also me. So but I have to say, voicing Morrowind was very interesting in that, as you said, Elizabeth, the only games I'd done before that was a thing called Unreal 2, where basically the only thing I did in that game was die. They brought me in to basically be the embodiment of a Wilhelm scream and die for 4 hours in like 200 different ways. Okay, Wes, you're going to get your throat cut. Now you're getting something caught in a zipper. Now you're doing this, all these different screams of pain. And so this, I got to dive into characters and actually, have emotions, things of that sort.
Yeah, that's what I was really, and which still resonates with me today, is that we were building. Todd would help us do that too. We would talk about the moments that these characters were having. It just wasn't, that. It was really an understanding of what the scenes were. I mean, it sounds kind of funny, but I think that's what made this whole series live today, because it was
helped you get immersed. You became immersed in the world, right? You became immersed in the story and the characters, and it's sort of it's similar to stage, similar to film, similar to things that you have to actually embody a character, but it's a completely different creature as well.
The one thing I remember having to be careful was that I didn't knock the microphone across the room. When you're in these scenes, you have to still, be very careful. You're not taking the microphone and throwing it across the room, because you're using, I remember this was the first time that, and I hadn't really done anywhere near this kind of depth of character. And I remember that the body use was something that I was used to doing things where I was much more contained. So,
I discovered when you smack the microphone around, the engineers get really butthurt.
Oh, they really, yeah. It was like, Elizabeth, I think you like me. Could you
And also at the end here is David Deboy. How are you, David?
I'm fine. How are you all doing?
Good. David, so who did you voice in Morrowind?
Well, I started video games in '94 in something called Deathgate. I played somebody named Haplo and had a big binder in front of me and really didn't know how the game went. But then in those days, it was pretty early going. And so I just sort of, played this one character as the director thought would work best. And then a mere 9 years later, I was asked to come back and work again. And that was the Elder Scrolls Morrowind. And they hired me because they wanted somebody with great variety of character, because I was playing the entire male Altmer's race.
Wow.
Every Altmer who walked on the screen was me, but there were a lot of different ones. So I got to play a lot of different ones. And I believe my best line was, "Go that way." But I don't know if I'm remembering
that was thrilling stuff.
Well, but the fun part is that I had to make them all sound different, have different character depending upon what the scene was like. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And now we're actually we're going to take a dive down into Team Skywind. Skywind is a really incredibly ambitious mod that is in development that is bringing and recreating Morrowind in the Skyrim engine. And for all of you, the originals here, is it weird that here we are almost, quarter of a century later, that gamers still very much connect with your game? And enough to want to recreate it for a new generation?
It's as close to being able to go see a Rocky Horror Picture Show performance of your performance that we'll ever get to. I'm just hoping that when you guys are voicing this stuff and performing this stuff, you're also throwing around toast and spraying bottles and
knocking over microphones. And
some good acting notes there, Wes. Let's take a look here. So let's go in order here. So Daniel Hodge, how are you?
I'm doing good.
So what do you do for Skywind?
For Skywind, I narrate the development videos. I think I'm playing some side characters, maybe some Daedric princes. Nothing too grand just yet that I've voiced for, but I've been with the project kind of since it was in the development stage back on the original Skywind website.
And Wes, this is that Daniel Hodge, is it not?
I know. No, it is. Let me tell you something, Daniel. Because we can't do mods. We're not allowed to do mods because we do the actual games and we're union. And but I think that the mods are a great training ground. I was just talking with somebody the other day over at Bethesda about this. The mods are great training grounds. It's almost like college, and then there's a draft, and a lot of people who are developers and voice people who have done these mods, they end up getting hired by the game companies. Why? Because this is a great chance for them to get out and show their wares, show their craft, show what they can do. It takes just as much effort and dedication and talent to make a mod as it does to make the game. So where do you go to find the talent of tomorrow? You go to the people who are creating the mods. And I've been watching Daniel, listening to Daniel really for a while now, because when they couldn't get a Sheogorath, or they couldn't get an Imperial Guard, or they couldn't get this, Daniel was jumping in and he was doing, a pretty decent impression of me. And I remember reaching out to you at one point, Daniel, after listening to your stuff. And I said, you're doing a great job with this. But what I am impressed with is how you're able to develop the characters, and there's emotion and there's a real life within them. And at some point, and I think that you've actually surpassed that and done that, don't be in my shadow. I want you to be doing your characters. You should be doing your characters, because one of these days people are going to be saying, I need to get me a Daniel Hodge type. And, I think that you had mentioned something before we went on about how you're saying one of these days you'll be a professional voice actor. Let me tell you something, buddy. You're already a voice actor. You're working towards it, and you're going to get these jobs, and you're going to be a member with us in the union. You're going to be doing all these things. You just have to be of the mindset that I am a voice actor, and all the mods and all the developers and all the writers have to be of a mindset of I am a video game developer. I am a video game writer. You don't do these things thinking I'm going to be, or I want to be, because you're doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Wes, two quick things. Firstly, we have now passed $5,000 raised so far. We just passed that mark. And
that's amazing.
I missed the notification here, but the Skywind team actually just donated $300 to the ALZ. That, seriously.
Thank you, guys. That's wonderful.
Guys. That is just amazing. And Munchie, thank you for the donation. $20 anonymous donation. Thank you all so very much. That is fantastic. Go Team Skywind. And sorry, King Cole is next up on the list in a very interesting mask. What a reveal.
Greetings. I am the bold King Cole. I have a merry old soul. I'm actually one of the voice actors for the project. I voice act a variety of orcs, and I think I got some opportunities to voice some Khajiit. A lot of people usually don't think this type of voice is able to be flexible, but they always get surprised when I go from sounding like this to sounding something more like this. Do not steal. Do not kill your kin. Do not attack without cause. Those who break these rules must pay the blood price. And then they get something like this. Do something more like this. You cannot grasp this simple truth. And I, Khajiit has proper wares. If you have the coin.
That is really good. Excellent.
Nice.
Bravo.
Why I actually had to train myself when I was just but a kid. I was actually inspired by Frank Welker for his wide variety of voice acting when I was a kid. I practiced a lot with mimicry and learning a large range of what I'm able to do. So yeah, impressions, as you mentioned, is a good stepping stone of knowing your range.
Yeah.
And over the time, sometimes you discover a new point in your voice that you just absolutely love and actually start to explore more with. I mean, you heard my voice as the orc, but that was actually somewhat inspired by anyone here familiar with the Superman the Animated Series?
Oh, yeah.
The guy who did the voice of Lobo. Coincidentally enough, I used to be part of a voice acting group called Adrenaline Dubs. And I'm not with them anymore. I wanted to try to expand on my own thing. And well, I was with them for 5 years and I love them all, but I just have to spread my wings, you know? But anyway, it was actually through exploring some stuff with certain characters that I can actually sound like this, baby. They don't ever expect this. And then all these other things I also got to do with going from this to something more like this, like Long John Baldry. But yeah, but I managed to. But yeah, if you have any questions regarding to Skywind, let me know.
Yeah, we'll dive into that. Also, Anna, how are you, Anna?
Hi, I'm doing great.
What do you do for Team Skywind?
So I've been a part of Skywind for the past almost 3 years now, and I voice act. I voice act Bosmer, Dunmer, Imperials, and Khajiit. And on top of that, I also am a writer for the project.
Awesome. Sorry, is it Renara?
Renara, yeah.
I got it.
Yay. Well, yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'm a voice actor for Skywind. I've been with the project since about 2016. I've seen it through, so similar to not John. God, I'm doing that thing where you get all flustered. So I'm going to do my best. Daniel,
you're
sorry.
doing great. You're doing
I'm
great.
fine. No, I've been on a sort of a similar length to Daniel on this project. I've seen it through many different phases and stuff. I voice primarily Dunmer, but I do a bit of Imperial and some Argonian as well. So you can hear me as Breach Star in the newest demo as well. It's like, this one said nothing, please.
Awesome.
There you go.
And switching down next row, Ryan Cooper. How are you, Ryan?
I'm very well, sir. How are you?
Good. So what do you do on Skywind?
Well, I'm a voice actor again, if you can believe it. I joined about 2015. I've got about 15 characters under my belt so far. I did Dagoth Endus and General Darius.
Do they get uncomfortable under there?
You'll be here all week, I'm sure. Yes, and apart from that, I'm also the developer diary commentator for Skyblivion. So I'm Dan Hodge's blood brother on the other side of the aisle there.
Another very, very, very cool mod in development.
Yes, very good.
And is it Zix?
Yeah, you got it. Hey, what's up?
How are you? So what do you
Pretty
do
good.
on Skywind?
I'm actually not a voice actor. Whoa, crazy, I know.
What?
I'm currently at least the role of 3D lead, alongside some other minor stuff, sort of managing the 3D team. That's pretty much all I do right now. So yeah, I think I'm mainly here to answer things in case voice actors can't.
What you guys will see
that
in
could
the
be
trailer,
many things.
Yeah, the trailer, the new stuff, you guys will see all the 3D work these I've been working on. It's amazing. It's transformed the game, the meshes, and what it looks like to revitalize and re-envision the way that Morrowind looked since way back when the first game came out. So
that's a whole lot of work. Do you ever get out of the house?
Me personally, very rarely. It's funny you ask that. But Yeah, it is a lot of work. Really, we have a large team, so very grateful to those guys. They make it pretty easy on me at trying to manage them all, very luckily. So
And I can't wait to dive into the gameplay that you've released so far. It's really beautiful stuff. Kate, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm another voice actor. I just came on board just a couple months ago, actually. I've been doing a lot of theater acting for the last like decade, but voice acting's always been on my mind, and I love Skyrim, and I've always wanted to be an elf. And I took Wes Johnson's voiceover for video games class, which is amazing for
It
anyone
is.
who's watching and wants to take it.
Taking it twice.
Just plugging it right there. But yeah, I took it, and Skywind was auditioning during that time, and I'm just so excited. I'm playing female Dunmer, so I get to live my elf dreams, and it's been amazing so far. Just like
I do
learning.
remember you auditioning during class and going in and doing this stuff and being very excited. And what's interesting is that all of the students from the class have created this Discord, and they all get on and share ideas and share auditions, and it's just like squad, which I love.
Yeah, everyone's really supportive in that Discord. It's great. Like accountability buddies kind of thing going on, So it's been awesome. Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Whoever just donated the $20 anonymously, much love to you. Thank you for that. Moving over to UCM.
Hello. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Great. So yeah, I'm also not a voice actor. I'm one of the level designers in the video that you're gonna see. Thank you. Yeah, don't worry, everyone. My voice is not in the game. You're safe. But in stop. But keep going. But in the video that you're going to see, I was responsible for the Necromancer's Tower of Mawaya. I love doing dungeons. I got into this when the lockdown started, and I couldn't get my D&D sort of jollies of messing with players, so I decided to turn it into a virtual messing with players.
Awesome. And Joanna.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm Joanna, aka Leigh, on the team. I am also one of the level designers for the video. You will see some of my work in Molag Mar, but I have to mention that Zix, of course, did the 3D stuff, but Nick and Mel also did work in Molag Mar. I got into the team also during the lockdown period, and I've been really enjoying doing interiors and lived spaces more. I went to school for anthropology and archaeology, so I like to translate some of that, like looking at how people live and experience these spaces into game worlds and virtual spaces.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And
Next up, Veteran.
Last but not least, excuse me, sir. 2-Bit Mad?
Yes, how can I help you?
Sir, this is a Wendy's. Matt, so what exactly do you do? And that is one hell of a mask.
Thank you. Buddy of mine worked on this for me. I didn't want to copy elder memes by just wearing a Vault Boy mask, so decided to go with the appropriate Morrowind theme and wear the Ordinator helmet.
Awesome.
But what I do is I am one of the writing co-leads, so I help write dialogue, get things from Morrowind updated for voice acting for Skywind, and kind of act as a lore guide and general answers person where needed.
Very cool. So that is our panel. Now, before we dive in here, Egrets from the Skyrim team, Skywind team, had a challenge for us all. And we're going to play a quick game to loosen you up here before we dive into some gameplay. And we'll start with our voice actors and go right through here. And it's time to do a little impressions.
Oh, boy.
No.
And these are going to be iconic Morrowind lines. And we're going to challenge you to do them in a very particular way. So let's spin the dice here and see what we got. So Wes, do an impression of this Morrowind line. Why walk when you can ride? We make a special trip just for you, same low price. in the following style of Elvis Presley or Dolly Parton?
Well, say, man, why walk when you can ride? We got one low price for the rest of the line, which I just can't remember, man, because I'm real high.
Fantastic. Liz, same line as Elvis Presley or Dolly Parton. Why walk when we can ride? We make a special trip just for
Why
you.
walk when we can ride? We make a special trip just for whoever the hell it was that you said. But I just do believe that we offer a very special ride.
David Deboy, Elvis Presley or Dolly
Make
Parton?
me follow that. Okay. Throw it at me. Go ahead. What am I doing?
Why walk when we can ride? We make a special trip just for you. Same low price.
Any particular voice in
Elvis Presley or Dolly Parton?
How about if I do Elvis Presley impersonating Dolly Parton? Will that work?
Yes.
Whoa,
Yes.
nice.
Give us.
Why walk when you can? Because I'm very confused. Why walk when you can? What? I can do this. I'm an adult. Wait a minute. Hold on.
You got it. You got this. You got this.
Cheer me on, Wes. Why walk when you can ride? I got a 57 Buick out here that I can drive you around in if you want it. Please,
You know what? That
to someone else.
that was a dead-on Matthew McConaughey.
That was great.
Good improv.
All right.
All right, so now we're going to jump down rows here, starting with Daniel. Do a Morrowind impression of this line. What a fool you are. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. How could you be so naive? Also in the style of Elvis Presley or Dolly Parton.
Oh, let's see here. What a fool you are. I'm a god. I'm a god. What a grand, intoxicating innocence. I can't remember the rest of it.
That's okay. That's perfect. King Cole, same line. What a fool you are. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence. How could you be so naive? Elvis Presley or Dolly Parton?
All right. What a fool you are. I'm a god. How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence.
Thank you very much.
Anna.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
Thank you.
God.
Elvis Presley, Dolly Parton.
I'm trying to will the spirit of Dolly to possess me right now because my southern accent is not the best, but
Oh,
go
perfect.
for it.
2-Bit Matt coming in clutch. She just posted exactly what the lines are in chat
I'm
here.
a god.
Well,
Oh
that
my
helps a
God.
lot, putting them in words. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't copy and
What a
paste from the chat.
Where were you when I needed you?
Okay.
I'm helping
You
out
got
Team
this, Anna.
Skywind.
Center
Okay.
and center and
What a
center.
fool you are. Oh god, no. I am the god. I am a god. I'm just never mind. We'll just move on.
No, you got this. You got this. Come on.
How can you?
We believe in you.
You got
I'm
this,
sorry.
God, don't it?
Oh, honey, you can do it.
I am a
You
god.
can
How
do
can
it.
you kill a
Goddammit, you
god?
can do this.
What a grand and intoxicating innocence. How naive.
Perfect. Renara.
Oh boy, here we go. Right, I'm English, so I get a pass for this being probably very stereotypical. Okay. Oh, what a fool you are! I'm a god. How can you kill a god? Oh god, this is awful. What a grand, intoxicating innocence. How could you be so naive?
Fantastic.
That is the best you're getting currently.
You gotta bring it out in song, guys. Be like, what a fool you
What
are.
a fool you are!
I am
I
a
am a god.
How could
I'm
you
a
be
god.
so naive,
What a
baby?
You gotta sing that song.
Trust me, everybody. We
Ooh.
are voice actors. We're just
We
Yeah, we
are.
are. We're very professional.
And we're very weird.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Is a question. Can I do that line of Dick Arthur as Long John Baldry's Dr. Roboti's voice? I think everyone will take a huge laugh at this one. May I?
Briefly, yes, and then we have to move on.
Okay.
Who you are? I'm a god! How can you kill a god? What a grand and intoxicating innocence! How can you be so naive? I have the power of the Chaos Emerald's hedgehog!
Yeah.
Now, if you could quote that exactly like that while sitting on the metro bus, you'll have a seat all to yourself.
What? I have to eat scenery. Scenery's delicious.
Ryan Cooper. So switching down, I spun the dice. So this Morrowind line, I don't recall using teleportation, and yet there I was, alone, naked, in the following style or accent of a Morrowind Nord Scottish. This should be easy for you. You got this.
What? Nord Scottish?
Morrowind Nord Scottish.
Nord or Scottish?
It just says Morrowind Nord /Scottish. So
Okay. Right. Say that aloud again. I've got the memory of a goldfish.
I don't recall using teleportation, and yet there I was, alone, naked.
Right. I'll just Google it because my memory is terrible.
Oh, it's in chat now.
Hey, there you go.
2-Bit Matt coming in clutch.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't recall using teleportation, yet there I was, alone, naked.
Rec has entered the chat. Sorry. No.
Perfect. Okay, Zix. You got this.
You're going to make me do this?
Oh, you bet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
You
yeah.
joined the Voiceapalooza.
Yeah, I don't know what I got myself into. I guess.
Let's go.
Same
Zach.
line, same accent. Is that
Same
the
line,
idea?
same accent. You got it. Everyone's cheering you on in chat. Let's all start pounding. Everyone smash Zix in chat.
Pray to somebody. I
We need a
guess.
summoning circle.
Shit.
You need to pray to God. But, oh my God.
I don't recall using teleportation, yet there I was, alone,
Oh, come on.
naked.
Happen.
Was that the right accent? I don't even know if I got the right accent.
No, that was
It
good.
was beautiful.
Fine,
That was
yeah.
great. No,
Oh, you
keep
got
going.
it. Okay.
That was some good voice acting.
Yippee, I guess.
There's zixing all over the place in chat.
We've achieved Zix off in chat.
Oh, God.
Kate.
Okay, so still Scottish? Is that
Yep.
that's Scottish?
Morrowind
Okay.
Nord Scottish.
Okay. I don't recall using teleportation, and yet there I was alone, naked.
That's Irish. Sorry.
So I was just in Ireland. That's why that happened. I'm so sorry.
It's Celtic.
Close
But
enough.
it's the red general region. You're
It's fine. It's fine.
Apologies in advance to everyone living in Scotland. UCM.
You can do it. You can do this. We believe in you.
I don't recall you. God, it's Scott. I don't recall using teleportation, but there I was, alone, naked.
You sounded like Ringo Starr.
I don't recall using teleportation.
And we lost UCM.
Don't look at me.
Ringo, put your clothes back on.
All right. Last one here, bottom row. We're going to spin the dice again. And okay, Anna, we've got I could kill that guar. Those boots are ruined. In the following style or accent of Ashlander, Eastern European, or Ashlander, Eastern European.
Okay, I gotta redeem myself. Okay, let's think.
Those are getting hard.
Yeah, they are. I could kill that guar. Those boots are ruined. Oh God, I don't even know what that was. That was something.
Not bad, but it was something. But it
That
was
was
nice.
good. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
We're not
Trying
sure.
to emulate, my grandma's weird English from, growing up.
I remember when my grandma used to say that.
Yeah, I could kill that guar.
Okay, 2-Bit Matt dialing in from a 1996 McDonald's intercom. Same line. Let's hear it.
I could kill that guar. Those boots are ruined.
Perfect. The torture is complete. Now we're going to finally, at last, we're going to dive into some gameplay here. Before we do, We got a quick, just a little reminder here about what we are doing this for from Alzheimer's. And then 2 other quick things of business before we dive in. Exclamation point Noble Chairs. So our good, amazing friends at Noble Chairs are sponsoring Wes Johnson this year again.
Thank you, guys.
We are giving away a $619 valued premium Noble Chairs Hero Elder Scrolls Online Edition chair that Wes has. And it is a beautiful black chair that has runes. Really lovely stuff. That
Blends
is
right into the background.
It does, yeah.
There it is. Look at that.
That's what we're talking about. See the runes.
Yeah, it's
Isn't
beautiful.
a noble chair just a throne?
This is like
is,
the most amazing chair. The thing is, they look really cool, but even more importantly than that, they're super comfortable and great to sit in like all day long. So you want this chair. You want this chair.
And he keeps it in the bathroom. So I'm just saying.
I have carved a hole into the bottom of it. That's all, you know.
That's a little too much information, but thank you, Wes.
Well, it is a noble chair and a throne.
What a lovely image on a Friday evening. One other piece of business here, explaining a little bit more about what the Alzheimer's Association is. We don't run any commercials on this channel, so I want you to take a quick look at this, and then we'll come back and I want to show you how beautiful Skywind looks so far.
The first person to survive Alzheimer's disease is out there. They're going to hold on to everything the disease steals away. That smile they can't hide. That dance class they love. Every single piece of them is going to make it through. And the Alzheimer's Association is going to make it happen by funding research, advancing public policy, and spurring scientific breakthroughs. And by providing local support to those living with the disease and their caregivers, we're easing the burden for all those facing it until we accomplish our goal. Alzheimer's disease has devastated millions of lives, but that's all going to change when we reach the first survivor. But we won't get there without you. Join the fight with the Alzheimer's Association.
And we're back. Yeah, a little bit about the Alzheimer's Association. Both this cause is very near and dear to both Wes and I, as it is to many, many people who unfortunately have had people robbed from us by this terrible disease. I lost my...
you lose people before you lose them, Ken.
Yes, my grandmother and great-grandmother, and my dad now diagnosed, so...
Oh, I'm sorry, Ken. Yeah, I lost my grandmother, my mother, my uncle. My brother just lost his mother-in-law. I mean, it's a terrible thing that happens to the people as their memories fade and we lose who they are. They lose who they are. But it's worse for the families and the caretakers and the people who love them, who are there, who become the keeper of their memory, but also have to deal with the Alzheimer's and the dementia and the changes in personality. And it's just a very rough ride. And because of the Alzheimer's Association, they're there 24/7. They're around. You can go to alz.org. They've got an 800 line that you can call, and we'll get that number for you later on, that you can call 24/7 and get help, somebody who understands, someone who can help guide you. Because just as those who have Alzheimer's and dementia seem to be lost in themselves, if you're caring for someone like that, you can be lost. And the Alzheimer's Association not only helps families, but they're working very hard right now to try to find a cure. They've got medications that are actually in stages now that can push Alzheimer's back. But now they have to fight the red tape of the government and the FDA and things of that sort to get these things approved and get them into the hands of the people who need them. So what we're doing here by having fun and having a great time and with all these panels all month long is also going to be helping people. So fun for funds, and we're dropping the gloves on Alzheimer's. And for all of you who've donated here today and will be donating all this month, I can't thank you enough.
Yes, speaking of coming back to that, so B. Boltzman, thank you very much for the $50 donation. Very much appreciated. D. Berg 820, thank you for that $20 donation. $25 anonymous donation, thank you. Thorello 12 with a $20 donation. Argyle, $20. And Liz Liz with the $100 donation. Thank you, Liz.
Liz.
It's lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah, right now the Alzheimer's Association is fighting in Washington to get the drugs that can actually help people with this disease passed through and covered by Medicaid. And as usual, it's some red tape bullshittery. So we need to offer them a little bit of help. So now let's dive into some gameplay here. I'm really excited to take a look and show you all. I'm going to switch over here. Perfect. And now for everyone here on the panel, you should be able to take a look on the screen now. And does someone actually want to, from the team, want to take a little bit and explain where we are as far as the trailer, what we're looking at now?
Sure. I'd be happy to do so.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So yeah, this is the quest Necromancer in Mawia, which is a temple quest from Morrowind. So right now we're walking through an ash storm in to Molagmar, a sort of fortress city that's near the south of the island. I think this might be one of the first times we've really shown off an ash storm. I know we've people have been asking about the weather a lot in Skywind, so I'm happy to say that we do have the dreary, grim weather that people love to go back to in Morrowind.
God,
at least I hope they like.
This looks great.
Why am I not seeing? Why am I only seeing the panel? What am I doing wrong?
Oh, Liz. Hang on. Let me drop the LinkedIn chat for you.
Yeah, I don't see it.
That's okay. Get Liz hooked up here. There we go. Nope, that was
just everyone.
I accidentally sent that to 2-bit Matt. Hang on.
There we go.
There you go, Liz.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that'll bring you to the stream. You'll be able to see what
This
we're
is
seeing right now.
beautiful stuff. Now, who's responsible for building these worlds?
Wow.
A lot of people.
It takes a team.
Very
So
specific.
Zix did the tile set pieces in this room. Someone who's not here named Mel did some concept art. I put the interior bits together.
Nice.
Nick added some extra bits of decor. Yeah, so this was my main role in contributing to the video, was the architecture section here.
Oh, are you doing a screen share in the Zoom thing?
Nope, not in the Zoom. So there's a link right in chat, so you can take a look at it on stream.
Yeah, I know. It's just that there's the bit of the echoing and such. So
just mute it. Just mute it. Don't worry. Let's focus on what
There
we're
it
seeing
is.
here.
Okay, there it is.
There we go.
Okay. Oh, is that beautiful?
Is it?
Not like the good old days.
Yeah, talk about a little bit about that iconic gravelly Dunmer growl.
The Jeff Baker growl.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And that it was dropped in Oblivion.
Well, one of the reasons it was dropped in Oblivion was because...
Power to the people!
Sorry, in Liz, on your stream, make sure you mute that.
Hates things. Red Bull gives you wings.
No, not in Zoom. So there's a link right in chat, so you can take a look at it on stream.
Yeah, I know. It's just that there's the bit of the echoing and such. So just mute it.
Liz,
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, there's a volume control right on the video there. Just turn that on.
That's beautiful. Why can't I mute that?
Yep.
Down on the bottom left of the picture.
Yep, bottom left, Liz.
There, now I did.
Dunmer growl.
Yeah, the Dunmer growl with Jeff Baker. He went with that throat voice, which can be very damaging over time. It's a very intensive voice, and he had 14 sessions of doing this, and after a while, it's like he had no voice left. So it was the kind of thing where they're like, well, maybe we should spare the actors a little bit, but it was beautiful to listen to.
Yeah.
You know who could do that growl all day is Mike Rawson, who we're going to be meeting with tomorrow for a live event over in Springfield at Toshi Station. It'll be
That's gonna be
3
awesome.
p.m. right here.
What about the context voice actors are given for their lines to help them find the character and mood. For everyone here, that kind of question, how do you inhabit the characters that you're reprising? You try and do a complete impersonation of what was done before, or do you like to do a little bit of a twist on it, make it your own?
Who'd like to go first? I don't mind.
Well, yeah, even if, because in the Bethesda games, as you said, you'd play an entire race by yourself, but even then, you've got to try and carve out an individual niche for each character. That guy there was me, and he's, very much a religious sort of zealot, which is different to the other characters. So he's very performative, very, very sneering and sort of self-righteous. And that's, that comes through from the script when you read it. And that's kind of it, really.
I'd agree on that front, because a lot of the times when we get the scripts through, you have the line, and as you're reading through, they get blocked into scenes. So you have one line after the other. And from that scene, you start to get an idea, because they have the name of the character, the sort of long sort of scene bit that you're doing, and then they have basically the wheel of emotions in Oblivion, where you do like admire whatever and things like that. We've got like 50, 100, 25 but the mini game that was the bane of everyone's existence. But they have similar things to that next to each line to give you an idea of the intensity behind each line. So it helps navigate that. And then sometimes we'll have a pre-line that might come from somebody else, but we don't necessarily have an idea around the character. We take context clues from the scripts that we're given. And sometimes when you see that 100 anger or 100 sad, you start, okay, that's the focal point of this scene. So what do I need to look around the outside of that? And sort of you work as you go, sort of thing. You start to get an idea of, oh, this person keeps getting lines talking about their son. Oh, they must be a mother. They're obviously concerned about where this son's going. And you sort of start to play off of that. And if I'm ever having issues, I always go to the writing team and go, hey, how's this said? Or what's the context behind this? And I ask, because you can in this because it's a huge team, and everyone is just so everyone works together wonderfully. All the departments are available to talk to no matter where you are, and it's just the communication that we have is ridiculous in the best way possible.
Yeah, a lot of it is definitely creativity, of course, because as much as, our writing team, we go to great efforts to really flesh out each character. The truth is, whenever you have, thousands of NPCs, you can't give everyone the attention that, they deserve. So whenever you're, confronted with one of those, classic Morrowind lines that's kind of long and rambly and giving all this information, I mean, we've cleaned that sort of dialogue up so it reads more naturally. But still, at the end of the day, you're going to be given a lot of lines with all these complicated Dunmer names and places that you need to go to, and you just kind of need to do your best to infuse that life into it and kind of get into the headspace of where your character would be.
Yeah, and even if I would imagine you're playing a character that has existed before that other people recognize, you still have to make it your own. You have to live that character from within yourself and find the motivation, find the reasons for being within you. So it's going to change it. It's going to make it, if you want to make it real, it has to come from you to begin with.
Yeah, I know one of the things is whenever we're confronted with all of the different Dunmer names for the different locations, we're always in the chat like, how do you pronounce this? What the heck is this? But for the character, that's just a fact of their life. It's like me telling someone to go walk to the Tesco. So you have to get into that attitude of, I've known these places my whole life. I've grown up with them. And that really helps a lot.
Earlier, Anna, what you were talking about, it's kind of fun. There's a popular little bit of lore as it relates to Oblivion. When Patrick Stewart was given a 90-page booklet for Oblivion explaining his character's history and motivations, he dies in the tutorial mission. Gives you a little bit more info than you maybe need. Also with Oblivion, Wes, the 13-actor main cast, they were given the lines in alphabetical order with not a lot
Evidently, I didn't know this at the time.
Yeah.
It's something somebody told me. When you look at these scripts, there are these little blips that go through, and each one of them has a different emotion. I mean, you can go from happy to sad to fearful to joy to love to hate, like from line to line. So you have to reset yourself every time going into the next line. So to decide whether or not that was in alphabetical order was the farthest thing from my mind as I'm reading those.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I don't think a lot of people know this. I didn't know until I took your acting class. The scripts that you're given are not in like a regular script play if you're doing a radio play or a play or TV film. So it's sometimes hard for you to have context of a scene if you're just given that one line, and you have to kind of come up with what's going on in your head with, just some basic prompting.
You can always ask the engineer. If the engineer knows, the engineer might ask the writer. Sometimes the writer is there, but other times the fact of the matter is, whenever you're creating a character, you have to have an inner life, and half of that inner life that you're making up for yourself in order to make that character real. So Liz and David, how do you feel about that?
Well, what I was going to say is that many times in a situation like that, especially if it's just the engineer, I'll suggest, let me give this line to you a couple of different ways and see which version plugs in best when you guys get into editing. And that helps a lot.
Am I doing something?
You're still not muted on the
It says
Twitch.
it says it's muted.
Oh, sorry, Liz.
I'm sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
starting to see echo trails as you're doing that. It's amazing.
It's Liz, just close the video where you're watching the stream, because what's happening is we're hearing that audio back through. So just
Don't
close the
say
window.
boomer, don't say boomer.
Yeah, just keep the zoom up. Don't close the zoom.
Yeah, it's okay, Liz. Just close the video you were watching.
The Twitch page that you're
just
watching on.
exit out of it. And then
you've muted the Zoom there, Liz, so we can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, and then the Zoom you can just unmute.
I'm coming back.
There we go. Yes. Okay.
What I was going to say with that is that it's kind of what I was saying before. One of the things that was so unusual at that time, because it was new for all the video games, was to marry that character. You had to do that in order to take those emotions and go from one to another very quickly. When you'd be in battle, for instance, as an Argonian female, you may be protective in one graph, and then the next one you're killing someone, and the next one you're defending someone. So you had to really have an idea of, and Anne, I could see you kind of shaking your head like, yeah, you have to really have an idea of the personality, the drive of this character to go from one thing to another, just like a real person does.
Yeah.
I have to act the character. I can't just voice it.
No, you have to be. I feel like you live the character. You become. You live in that world. And I actually felt after voicing Morrowind and then playing it for like 600, 700 hours, that when I started voicing Oblivion, I was much more immersed in the world and in the game. It helped me a lot.
Really? It was, you felt kind of like a newbie in the beginning of it. And that's where Todd was so wonderful. We had great direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then later on, between Todd and then Mark Lampert.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I can just
who's
jump in
directing
real
for
quick.
Skywind? Who's directing for you guys for your voice acting? Are you all directing yourselves?
Yeah.
To a degree, yeah, to a degree. We do have some voice acting leads that we can go to if we have any questions and things like that, who can give us a bit of a nudge every now and then. But a lot of the sort of directed feedback we get is usually after we've had our lines cut and we have it back for retakes. The file cutters leave a lot of notes for us so that we can basically, if we've misread something, or if the pauses are too long or everything, things like that, they give us notes both structurally and acting, which is so helpful. Because sometimes they'll say you've done a really good take, but you've taken too much long of a pause here, and we need you to retake it because they don't want to edit those bits and pieces and things like that. And it's just, that's the sort of things what we get back, and we sort of go from there. And retake can happen 2 or 3 or 4 times, or our scripts could get rehauled, which happened once already. That's a story, but I don't think we've got time for that.
So when you're recording, you guys have your own individual booths. I see you have a booth there. I see Daniel has a booth. How do you guys, what are your home studio setups like? And you're recording all around the world. And then are you sending this in just like with WeTransfer or Hightail or Dropbox? What do you do?
So I personally use, can I start? Okay. I personally use Google Drive, so I just record it in Audacity and then upload it. But it's actually kind of funny because my recording studio is just a closet, and I've set up a bunch of blankets, and I literally am under just this giant, I'm forgetting the word because language, just heavy blanket, that you put the mattress.
Yeah.
So you're sitting
your
under
space
that.
is important. Yeah.
And you're holding it up, and you're also trying to look at the script. But if you're determined enough, you can make anything work.
And sorry, you see
Anna, they call it a Cludio. I call mine my Cludio. I used to have bathrooms and all this, huge room and bathroom. Now I call it my Cludio, which is my closet studio.
So
you see, I'm sorry, you've been trying to jump in here for a minute.
Yeah, I just want to show, with the video, one thing that we're very happy we've been able to do is, compared to the original game, create much more dramatic scenes. Like in here, you can see he blew up the staircase and is now fighting this enormous, stitched together necromantic monstrosity.
That is terrifying.
Glad you think so. But so yeah, like in the original game, I think Delvum, the necromancer, didn't have any lines at all. You could maybe talk to him, and he has some sort of canned responses out of the just default dialogue. But here, we've been able to give him much more of a character, give him some much more dynamic movement. For example, we're talking voice acting when we came in, but he mocked the player from the other side of a locked door, then ran upstairs, blew up the staircase like I just mentioned, and just generally gave him a much more full character, made him much more of a coward and panicky.
Sounds like a terrible house guest.
Oh, he's terrible. He's terrible. He leaves the toilet seat up, I'm sure.
And I remember when you see him were designing that dungeon and working with Zix on, can we do this exploding staircase idea, that the voice acting, the dialogue that was going to be in the game was very much directing how you were designing the dungeon as well. I thought that was a really cool kind of blend here.
That's a really good point. We did have to go back to the dialogue that we had written and recorded, and avoid mentioning, if someone says go left, we had to make them go left, make the directions actually make sense with what was already spoken. But yeah, so I just wanted to point out that we've been able to, with our voice cast, been able to create much more interesting characters even when they're only around for 5 minutes, like this necromancer is.
I do like the fact that the monstrosity had twin katars for fighting you. That's actually a personal favorite weapon of mine. Indian punch daggers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, easily.
I'm not sure off the top of my head who designed the Greater Bone Walker, but he's one of my favorite designs we've come up with.
Yeah. The weapon is just if you have a katar, for me, you automatically are an awesome character.
And thank you, Torque, and 2 anonymous donations for $20 each coming in. Torque, with that $20 donation, thank you much.
That's wonderful.
We are at $5,407.22, closing on 6,000, and then we'll need to up the goal here.
It's always good to up the goal.
Always good to up the goal.
Yeah, I'm always astonished by the gaming community. You guys rock. Thank you.
What? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add, because as a voice actor, we don't usually get to see a lot of the assets. So when these demos come out, it's really interesting to see, one, our stuff implemented, and sort of to see exactly what that character was and how close we got it. But also, I've been a fan of this series since I was 12, and to see the sort of the creativity behind the different sort of dwarven Dwemer stuff and all these different things, different reimagining. I'm just having a bit of a fan gush here currently. Don't worry.
Oh, believe me, since I got introduced to the Elder Scrolls since Oblivion, getting the opportunity to do something like this is also it's actually really nice. Since I've been doing did a lot of mod stuff myself, especially with some of the older ideas that my friend told me about and showed me in regards to like the idea regarding to the battle sphere or something. I do remember in lore they talked about the fact that that in the game they do have the ability of space travel and such, but that was the whole synopsis of that game.
Yeah,
so I saw some pretty cool concepts and everything else. I gotta look for them again.
How much typical training does a Skywind voice actor need?
That one actually varies. That one's a various type of question. Some people it's going to be just like that, or some people have to get eased in and such. And Wes, you were talking about raspiness and such. This is actually something I learned how to do because of my associate Senior Fellow. If anyone who knows who he is, the guy who likes to beat on his desk and make awesome cartoons, he was actually in a Newgrounds podcast. He was talking about how he does a lot of his things. He mentioned that his friend told him that if he drinks milk, it actually protects your vocal cords from getting severely damaged.
To a degree.
Yeah. Any little bit helps. And since then, that's how
it also builds up mucus, which is not necessarily always
the first person to survive Alzheimer's disease is out there.
Not always. So, but sometimes depending on the character, it could help out or it could hinder. But overall, any little bit helps.
I've discovered that if you drink milk and shoot it out your nose, it's hilarious.
Yeah, but it's excruciatingly painful.
That gave you brain damage, Wes.
One thing I think is really important in voice acting too is that the breath carries the voice rather than the throat.
Yes,
right.
The diaphragm. You
can really have the voice come from the diaphragm. You're taking all the pressure off of this right here. You can do the very guttural kind of things like that because they come from here. The diaphragm.
Yeah, my singing teacher is actually had to reteach me that one. I lost my voice from singing back in middle school because I hit a note way too high up with my falsetto and I did it wrong and I wasn't able to speak for a long time and I was too afraid to sing again until I got back to college. And thanks to my college professor to getting my courage back up.
And earlier we were talking about with Renara, it's a weird moment when, these characters that you've been living with in your head and voicing to finally see them like that in gameplay. I imagine the same case was for you all, Wes and Liz and David, when you finally saw what the characters look like on the screen after voicing them. Was there anything that surprised you? Anything that you maybe thought, well, maybe I could have done that a little differently, or what were your thoughts?
I was mostly surprised in Oblivion when I saw how Lucien LeChance looked because he was completely different from what I was imagining. I was imagining some crooked, decrepit, gaunt fellow with the long, stringy hair and just evil. And then they put him in this like gorgeous body, and when we're like, "Oh my God, he's gorgeous and has a heart of evil, the perfect man." Yeah. But when I play the games and I listen to my voice back, I don't know about you guys, but I listen to hear how the immersion works. Does it fit in? Does it work as part of the story? I don't want it to stand out like a sore thumb in any way. I don't want it to become too different from everything. I want it to work as the story. I want you to believe the character. Some of the worst things as far as gaming is concerned, I think, when it comes to voicing is when somebody sounds reedy or stilted and it takes you out of the immersion of the moment. You realize there's an actor there. That's why
the voice becomes self-conscious of itself.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and that I think is why the studying of acting is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because bottom line is you're looking for somebody that you can relate to, somebody, I don't care what the size is, still in the game, you want to be able to relate to that.
And
even if it's a creature, even if it's a monster or a creature, they have human emotions. Why? Because you're playing for a human audience, and that's what they're going to identify with.
Yeah,
you know.
I prefer to memorize. I prefer to memorize the script to avoid that read equality that you've mentioned, because you have no choice but to, imagine it rather than just read it off a piece of paper.
Yeah, and just because a character just happens to be a monstrosity or an animal doesn't necessarily mean you can't relate to them. And that also goes alongside with writing as well. If you've someone made this really bad take, saying how could they relate to the Hulk, who is a giant green monster, and I was like,
just look at anybody in a car on the Beltway and you can relate to that.
Yeah. I've never heard such a more dumbfounding thing in my entire life in regards to that. It's literally Jekyll and Hyde.
You relate to David Banner, don't you? Not so much the Hulk.
Well, you can even then you can still relate to the Hulk regarding to the Hulk may be its own separate entity, but you could also understand in some aspects regarding to him. Yeah, it's like the dissection of Grendel. You actually learn more about the monster before the just rambling.
Well, I just saw Guardians of the Galaxy 3 last night, and you truly believe that all of the animals, and especially Rocket Raccoon, are deeply human things that are going to make you cry. So yeah.
And Liz, you look like you want to say something there.
I've always asked myself, if I'm going to die, how would someone care about me? I mean, I have to have the character live something that I can relate to, so that when I die, there's a feeling that I'm evoking with that. So it's like the evolution of the character is really what I find fascinating.
This is why people didn't go left and right in Morrowind and start turning all your characters into purses or boots.
But I want Argonian purses and Khajiit coats. I look fabulous.
So soft.
Yeah, you do happen to play characters that just so happen to be, the materials used for making purses and boots. So
and it really doesn't help that Morrowind is regarding lore.
How is the style of voice acting? How is it different for Skywind versus the other Elder Scrolls games?
I think because it's a throwback to the turn of the century. It's going to be a bit more colourful, a bit more, I'm not going to say cartoony, but I think that's a trend in modern acting. It's gone towards hyper-realism. And I think if by going back to Morrowind, you're going to have a lot more flavour. And obviously with Skywind, there's about 300 actors, which automatically gives you that sort of diversity as well.
Cast. Good Lord.
Yeah.
I love the term flavour a lot more than cartoony.
I do also think it's a bit of a timestamp for its time, in the sense of it's a time capsule. It was the first game, I would say, that encapsulated D&D into a video game format, not counting Arena and Daggerfall because I wasn't alive for those. But it was the first time we got to really play immersed as a fantasy race, and it was probably the first time. I don't know. I'm doing that thing where I do the same thing as King and kind of start rambling a bit. I think the reason being why it's a time capsule. So the lines and the way it reads, having the writing team zhuzh it up a little bit just to make it flow a bit easier. But I know there's like a few lines that all of us have, which we go, yeah, that's come straight from the game, I think. What's his name? Glorious is. Oh, could you?
Orin Bearclaw.
Thank you. I'm not the only one. Orin Bearclaw. That every character, all of us have come across that line. It's like, oh, wondrous is Orin Bearclaw, and we're like, okay, we've got to figure this out here. And
I'll just lean into it and just cheese it up. I don't care.
Yeah,
I think it's an easy line. Just embrace it.
Embrace it. I think another thing that's really cool with Skywind is we kind of go back to where each race has their own sort of characteristics and how they speak they speak and approach things. So, I mean, it's not like every single character is voiced by the same person and they have the exact same approach to it. but they have the same sort of general qualities. So for instance, a Dunmer is very sort of up here and very bright and light. But in contrast, a Dunmer would be very sort of a dark sounding voice, and like they go down and deep, and a little bit of the growl. And
well,
that's
sucking
kind of
so much ash down every day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That was what I was about to mention as well. Because of the ash and such, it would cause issues with respiratory, like a smoker. Yeah, smokers usually have a bit of a rasp to them.
Yeah.
Which is why when you get to Tamriel, some of those dark elves sound perfectly fine.
Exactly.
You know, their lung doctors are like, good checkup today, bud.
Good to go. And you know, we've been talking a lot. We've been talking a lot about voice acting, but let's talk a little bit about the world that we just saw here. As far as level design goes, how do you start from a cell and then something from scratch to the final design? What does that process look like?
So I have a notepad right here where it kind of starts, actually.
Oh, so you map it out on paper?
Sometimes. What I personally tend to do, and there's no universal system, of course, but I'll start with, I guess, kind of depending on my mood, almost either sort of the big set piece of the dungeon that I want to do, either like a boss room or the entrance hall or the some hub area maybe.
It's totally boss room, dude.
Boss. And just sort of like build it out from there. And then just sort of, I'll iterate through it. I'll play through it myself dozens of times, just getting the sort of the layout, just the bare bones skeleton set and done. Like a big milestone for me is when I can no longer fall outside of the world and die in the void. It's a big step for me. I know, I feel safe.
It's a key.
Don't we all?
Well, you don't die. You just embrace Sithis by going into the void.
Tomato, eternal void. But yeah, and then a pass to sort of to clutter it. Add the little things that you just sort of walk past without thinking about it. Spider webs, crates and barrels and chests and things. Rubble, just random little rubble on the ground has to be hand placed. And then enemies, and then I send it over to QA to scream at it for a little while.
And lighting, don't forget.
Oh, right. I have to do that too.
I have a rather different process from you. See, I'm coming from my archaeology background. I like to think first about the space that what I'm building inhabits. So I often start with the exterior space. Molag Mar, the exterior was done already when I was handed over the interior. So I tried to make an interior space, and I've already mapped up all the inside rooms as well by the time I started doing that grand space. Try to figure out, how is it constructed? Would this actually stand up? What sorts of materials are they putting in? Would you even have a huge clay wall like that, or is it going to have to be broken up by some timbers, to try to get some of that like material realism into the architecture? And then also thinking about, would they really make a room where you have, or a tomb, for instance? We have a lot of tombs in Vardenfell where in order to go pray to your ancestors or make an offering, you have to walk all the way around, this way, that 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 way. And I like to think a little more to make spaces livable, although I think, yeah, there's a little bit of a trade-off where you have to balance between, is this a realistic space and is this a fun space to play? And then, yeah, after that, coming back to those objects of everyday life, like placing, oh, well, they would have been carrying this and then they wouldn't have wanted to get mud all over the floor. So they probably left it over here, and just kind of thinking through how people are living in these spaces to put the objects in.
As far as getting involved with art design, as far as doing anything from level layout to take part in the two-dimensional team, what skills did you all bring to the table, or what skills do you look for in people that want to help out with the project?
I guess that's somewhere I can jump in, I guess. Seeing as like I'm one of probably two right now people that manage the whole 3D team, I go through lots of applications, especially after this video. We got something like 5, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot. Like it's almost like a job application, right? You kind of have to go through their portfolio and look at everything. Things that I value are things like organization, communication. It's a volunteer project, so I can understand like a lot of that can be hard to come by, especially because you're not paid for it. You're not. There's no expectation, right? The team is very differently structured from a professional setting, in that you're just not paid. You're not like given deadlines or anything. So yeah, it might carry over to voice acting too. I know the voice acting leads have been kind of putting out soft deadlines, and I've tried to also do that within the 3D team. But something I look for in applications immediately is, can you communicate effectively? Are you organized enough? Skill, I mean, is one thing. You kind of have to be good at what you're doing. We set a pretty high bar, which is pretty scary for a lot of people.
Skill, passion, and organization seem to be pretty high on the list.
Exactly. Yeah. It almost comes down to that silly saying where, what is it? If you're looking for a job, pick 2 of these 3 things, right? And it's either good pay, a really fun job, or a good location, or something like that. You kind of have to look at it that way for a lot of applications.
At first, yeah, but I also look at it in this way. My son, through his early years of going from middle school through high school, was not necessarily a school guy. What he wanted to do was draw. What he wanted to do was animate. But he got great grades all along the way. And he was not working for pay. But what happened was he ended up getting a scholarship on top of his scholarship for the talent that he had, because of the work that he had put in. And that meant that all that time that he was doing that stuff, he was being paid. When you do this kind of work, you're not getting paid right now, but what you're doing is you're paying into your future. You're paying into your future, especially, and you'll find this, I think, with any kind of a volunteer basis or things of this sort, whether it be the development, whether it be the creation, whether it be the voicing, you're going to find people who think it's a really cool, fun idea at first, and then realize just how much work is involved with it and slough off. And you end up getting the ones who really believe, who are doing this because they have it in their heart and they love it, and would do it for free, but eventually will not, because the fact of the matter is you're going to work that hard. You're going to put that passion in. You're going to do that work, and people are going to see it. And because of these mods, and because they're high profile, and because the people at the companies do see these things, you're putting yourself in a position where your stuff will be seen. So I think of it as like what my son did for years to get himself seen and get the scholarship that moves him on to finally get the work that he wants down the road.
Yeah.
I was going to add, we as voice actors don't have, obviously, we don't get to see the auditions come in, and we aren't involved in the selection process, but what we are involved in is the advice process. We are always encouraged to, within the auditorium over on Discord, we're always encouraged to listen to other people's auditions from the public come in and give criticism and give maybe pointers on different bits and pieces here, there, and everywhere. And as voice actors, this sort of industry is it's a grind. It is we're all in this together sort of thing. So if we can help each other, that's a key, I say, quality that voice actors, we all want to help, and we all want to make great stuff for this. So if you have that passion, like you said, Wes, then that's really, that's great. But one thing I would also advise, as someone who also, I think I actually helped one of your students, Wes, get into voice acting as well. Mr. Dash. He came to me and asked, I have no idea what Skywind want. I would like to voice for Dunmer, and I gave him all of sort of like the phonetic alphabet and how the Dunmer say certain vowels, and sort of a bit of sort of stuff behind the voice, a couple of techniques, and just being able to share that. And he took the advice on board and he made it through. So we want to help you put your best foot forward for this, because we want this to be as good as we know that everyone else wants it to be. So if everyone is as passionate, then that just makes the whole thing greater.
Renara, I think you bring up a really good point. Something that's just really special about the Skywind team is how much we're all invested in each other
Yeah.
and in helping each other develop in our own skills. We're
Yeah.
all doing this as a volunteer. So I came to the team with some level design skills, and I've learned some about coding. I've learned some about writing. I know there are other people who join as nav mesh and then learn level design along the way. So if if you wanted to be a part of the project and you're not sure you have the skills yet, it's still worth applying to do one of these more accessible things like file cutting or nav meshing, because it's an excellent place where you can be fostered to learn in this environment.
Yeah,
and that's it. By doing it is the best experience, the best thing, experience.
And the thing with projects like this, and the modding community, it's vast and huge, and it takes so much time and effort to really see it from start to finish. What with that process, you all are committed to this as a real passion project. You're not being paid for this. On the offside, on the opposite side of it, what are some of the freedoms that you feel that unpaid projects give you that maybe a paid project or maybe doing it for a living would maybe limit you a little bit?
You mean like spending 250 hours on a single tomb?
I would say on the voice acting side, there's definitely a level of more freedom to experiment, I think, and there's not that added weight on you of, right, I'm I'm paying you this much, you better be good, sort of thing. There is when money's involved, there is a higher expectation between client and voice talent, and for those maybe just starting out, free stuff and modding the community is so great for you to experiment, for you to build your skill set, to really have fun with it and find your niche and the way you work to build up to then making it as a professional voice actor. And I consider myself a professional voice actor. I've been doing it for 7 years now, and it's the thing of this Skywind was the first thing I ever got, and it will always hold a special place in my heart because I couldn't read when I was younger. I couldn't read at all.
Oh, wow.
I struggled so much until I was about 17, and since then, going through this, I've learned, it's improved my skills. You learn so much by doing these things. You change as a person, and that helped my acting. And I can't say for everybody else on this project, but we all have a path, we all have a story, we've all gone through this in different ways, and I think we're all slightly changed for it, really.
Well, for me, I have the issue of I really want people to know my skill set and such. I literally gut myself out. I've been doing voice acting for about 10 years. Most of it's just fan projects, but it does at times feel like I've gotten nowhere. But at the same time, I gained enough knowledge so I can teach others and actually help guide. I became a bit of a stickler when it comes to making sure I have good quality, which is why I actually have high quality headphones, so I can pick up on a lot of those micro details, so I can guide people through and give proper measurements. For me personally, I like to interact with the person I'm doing work with because it gives me a sense of drive and motivation. However, when I don't have someone I work alongside with to help guide me and such, I just feel like this also attributes to something we all call codependency. Yeah, it's not pretty. But a lot of times you gotta bite the bullet, even though no one's there to guide you or give you the motivational push to get you to do what you love to do. Yeah, but that's a personal weakness for me.
I think
go ahead.
is a major strength of us being a volunteer project is the fact that we are given greater freedom to explore this world and to explore the elements within it that made it so compelling an experience 21 years ago. We are able to take things like some of the original design ideas that the team at Bethesda had and was unable to implement because of the technology at the time, and actually explore those in a modern development context. We're also able to do things like add voice acting to the entire game when it was originally primarily text-based. And these kinds of things really update it for a new generation of players to be able to really experience Morrowind and this universe in an entirely new and different way.
Speaking of... oh, go ahead.
Okay. I think for me, the difference between paid work and unpaid work is time. You don't get paid, but you get time. And, you know, there's no particular deadline for a voice actor to get a role finished. So that gives you, as you say, the freedom to really go very deep on a character if you want to without... I mean, I've had paying clients where they said, could you turn this round tonight for me, please? And I'm like, what? Okay, but yeah, it's going to suck and all that, but okay, I'll do it. With this, it's kind of, you know, that is true liberation when there's no particular deadline to get it done.
Yeah. You never tell them it's going to suck. You say yes. It'll be brilliant.
Less good.
So we have some people in chat, by the way, Ken, who are asking about if they could talk about the writing of this project. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we did, though, I think, I think Anna had something they wanted to say, and Kate also wanted to say something.
Oh, it's just that Matt really touched on basically what I was kind of aiming at. You know, he's kind of my boss, so I work in the writing department of things. And one of the best, most freeing things about the fact that it's not a professional project is we do just get that liberty to really experiment with things and put as much passion as we want into it without really feeling constrained by the idea of, I mean, I know that as a writer, sometimes I take what lore we have and I kind of, you know, I add my own little twist to it, and I feel more free to be able to do that with the main intention of creating characters and creating an experience that is, but one, accessible to players, and two, just very interactive and makes it feel like a real breathing world. And yeah, so basically just adding on to what Matt said.
And Kate?
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of add on to the freedom, but like the freedom to make mistakes, that I feel like less pressure, and I think that makes me a stronger actor, because I've had a lot of paid work before, and there's this like anxiety about it almost, and so there's this like I feel like I don't know, I'm like stepping into something really new, and also I love like the closet or the studio, like whatever that word was, because like that's literally what I've made is like that blanket, the blanket over my Cludio. And they've just been more patient with me as I've been like learning how to get rid of the reverb, and like I just feel like if it was a paid project, like yeah, you're on a strict timeline, and they've just been really patient and supportive and giving me tips and hacks and everything. So it's just been like a really positive environment, and I feel free to make mistakes, which is really helpful.
I think Liz needs to copyright Cludio before it's too late.
Cludio.
We're going to see a new like series of sound.
You know,
I
gotta just say, I gotta do a shout out for getting paid. Please don't think it's a terrible thing. It's a wonderful thing. It's a
I love getting paid.
Yeah, I love getting paid too. Yeah.
Well, okay, it's a wonderful thing. You can educate your children, you can buy a house, you can drive a nice car, you can give money to things like Alzheimer's. So, you know, I appreciate the fact that you all are volunteer. I think it's wonderful. I would have become a nurse, because I couldn't have done it without being paid. I can't even imagine what you know, the dedication that you have. I think it's wonderful. But on the other hand, I don't want you to knock being paid, because it sure as hell feels really good when you get those big fat checks.
Sometimes I think about what I would have been paid for all the work I've done for Skywind just to drive me insane. If it was at the normal rate. Yeah.
So Liz, I wanted to show you my Cludio.
Oh, I love it.
Oh my god.
Oh, I love it.
That's
amazing.
Look at David's Cludio.
The gorgeous Cludio.
Hashtag
Hashtag Cludio.
That is a horrible sentence. Look at David's Cludio. I don't think I'll ever be able to get that out of my brain.
I'm getting shots for it.
Why else do you think I was cringing whenever someone said that word? It sounds
I think it should be sung by Phil. Yeah.
Surprisingly spacious and well lit.
Oh God.
David,
why?
Cludio.
All right,
What's
so
dirtier, man
we've had
cave or
a number of questions in chat asking about the writing process. So as far as you've decided to not just completely recreate this game, but also in some instances to really update it and modernize it. As far as the writing process goes, how did that look? Did you go back and dig into like the old text dialogue from the old games as a starting point? Or did you kind of get the flavor of that and then write on top of that? What did that writing process look like?
So I finally ditched the Ordinator helmet so that my audio can hopefully come through more clearly now. But the main thing was that we went ahead and got all of the text that we had in the vanilla game, and then we got all of that pulled in to the Skywind sheets and everything that we were going to work on. Then we're going through, the first thing is looking for any kind of errata. So if you're looking at the original game where something is saying, oh, you need to go west, okay, is that the correct direction? Because there were mistakes in the original game. And then also contextualizing things within that world. So if, for example, somebody is telling you that their wife has been kidnapped by bandits, you would presumably know where you just were when your wife was kidnapped, so you could give precise directions to that location. Versus if you're sharing a rumor from somebody in town who is saying like, oh yeah, I heard there's some Daedric worshippers up at a shrine down the road, they may not be able to give you very precise directions. So contextualizing that within that world makes everything feel a lot more believable. And then, as mentioned earlier, also, we're going through and taking these giant blocks of text that were just text in Morrowind and chunking them up so that they can work as dialogue with voice acting, so that you have the player character reacting periodically, being able to move the conversation forward, and that the NPCs aren't just standing there monologuing at you like I've been doing for the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, Alex Kane in chat had a note here. There's a lot of awkward repetition in the original text-only dialogue because of the keyword system. So a lot of the vanilla rewrites involved making the dialogue flow more naturally, for sure.
Yes, absolutely. That, and also just making sure that you have, we've got, as has been mentioned, something like 300 voice actors, and really trying to take advantage of that so that people's reactions and information that they share with you is more sensible to what you would expect in this kind of fantasy world. A great example of how the keyword system fails is if you want to find out what people do for a living. In Morrowind, you would go up to somebody and I'd be like, hey, Zix, occupation. And that's weird. If I did that, Zix would be like, what are you even asking me? But instead, if you're like, hey, Zix, what do you do for a living? Then you actually get that interaction with the character, and it feels just a little more like a real world that you're living in.
Can I ask this group a question? Who are the decision makers? What's the hierarchy of decisions being made? And who has the final say?
It's a relatively democratic process. So we have team leads. So there are 3D team leads, there are 2D team leads, voice acting leads. I'm a writing lead. So generally the leads kind of act as a council to decide things kind of as a group. It usually does not come down to an all and out vote. It's usually just kind of, we have discussions and try to figure things out, which, going back to an earlier point about the freedom we have being a volunteer project, not being beholden to shareholders or a price point or a release date, we are able to really talk things through and say, okay, like, yeah, maybe nuking this quest and, starting this a different way is going to actually tell this story better. And being able to make that decision as a team and seeing what everybody's impact on that is going to be. Are we going to be losing 3D assets that were designed for this quest if we change how this part of it's going to play out? So we all have those conversations together as a team. All of the leads do, but also all the team members have input. If there's something that we write and the voice actor gets to it and is like, this is garbage, like, I don't want to say this, like, I don't want to record this, who wrote this? You know,
not
and
heard of this.
yeah, and it comes back to us, and we're like, hey, yeah, this is we need to go have a talk with that writer, but also, yes, let's get you a better line. You
See,
know.
a volunteer can say that. Us paid people have to say, I have an idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the
Yeah, going back to with the original game, as far as that process went, do you remember Liz and David? I think we lost Wes here for a moment. Oh, he's trying to get back in. I should have looked to my left. Wes is coming back in. There he is.
There we go.
Wes looks annoyed.
Oh no.
All the names are all
Wes,
gone.
did you lose power again?
Oh no.
No, computer crapped out. That's
Oh
just,
no.
You still got some power though.
Don't pay you enough.
Yeah, the question I just asked, we were talking about the writing process for the game, Wes, and how the team here, as far as the voice actors go, can kick some lines back. As far as that original game back with Morrowind, as far as the writing process to voice delivery, were you able to make some notes on characters, maybe take a character in a different direction, say a line different way, or make suggestions like that?
well, I mean, we discussed it with Todd. It was all a very interactive thing in the studio, but it was all done right there in the studio. It was done real time. It's not like in many video game sessions, you're not getting the script ahead of time. We never got the script until we sat down in front of this big binder with all these pages in absolute pitch. So in that situation, we're like, Todd, who are these people? What are they like? What do we do? What do you want from us? What is the emotion here? We can talk to him about all these different things, and then we try to give that to him. So he's kind of leading the blind in that instance. We don't know what we're looking at until we're actually reading. And sometimes you're discovering your character even as you're reading your character. You're discovering as you continue along. And that is with the help of the director there or the engineer, whoever's there with you. It becomes a very collaborative experience. I have had a chance where they've given me the script ahead of time. A lot of that's been happening recently, but that's because they have to send it to you in your home studio, as opposed to you showing up out at either Bethesda game studios or going to a studio somewhere where they're going to work with you. You can do it at your home, so they have to send it to you, and you get it a day or so in advance. Still, and yet there can always be surprises.
I think too that it wasn't. I'm hearing so much collaboration that you guys have before you have the final product. The collaboration for us was done really before we got into the studio.
Right.
You know, the designers and the music and the all the technical decisions were made prior to us getting in. So
voice acting is the thing that gets done. Yeah.
It was. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, Liz, you're right. Voice acting is the last thing they apply. Everything else is pretty much ready before we go in.
Yeah. And there wasn't like a lot of changes in the script at all. I don't remember, maybe with Mark or Todd every once in a while, but basically the script was set. And we went from one emotion, I think Wes said that too. We went from one emotion to another quite rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was always, I can't remember. We didn't slate the takes, did we?
No.
I can't remember.
One to the next, and Chip, our engineer, was marking.
You marked it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I couldn't quite remember, back that far, but it was a very different process than what you're talking about for your mod. Very different.
And for me, for Morrowind, voicing a great many different characters who all had small roles, it becomes more technical. Now I'm making sure that they don't sound like each other. Now that I'm trying my best to make sure that I'm presenting what that part of the plot has to be pushed. I mean, I've done larger roles for a couple of the Star Trek games and some other things, but there's always an interesting challenge for the smaller roles when there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And it really becomes more of a technical situation to make sure that you're creating a number of different characters and the players aren't going, well, wait a minute, wasn't he the guy who went, you know, that kind of thing.
And we do have something similar in that when we all start out with one race per se, whichever one we usually cast for, but then sometimes the VA leads will go, right, we need people to voice perhaps like Argonian or an Imperial, or they will sort of approach us, but they have to ask us, okay, so what were your characters? We need to make sure that you're not voicing somebody so close to your other race. So they do actually take that into account, is what I was going to say. We do have that. They do make sure that if you are going to go for something else, that they're going to try and make those two races or those two characters as far away as possible.
Well, and
it feels to me that.
Oh, you can go.
Okay, it feels to me that the more roles you have to play in a project, the sort of the ground shrinks beneath you creatively, and you have to
almost. Well, but here's the deal: you have to have a really good grasp of what your range is, so that you know what you're offering the writers and the director. So, you know, you can almost make a list: older, younger, higher pitch, lower pitch, gruffer, softer, whisper. You know, you can almost write that out and put it in front of you for reference before you go in.
Yes.
And I always put the placement of the voice too for a character. It would be, where is it coming from?
Yes.
I mean, that's a big one for me to do.
Well, and this is where I think our voice actors and our team, especially with our voice acting leads, really are so phenomenal, because they are able to hear the voices that these actors are able to produce and really find, you know, what is a good role when, you know, even just during the audition process where they hear somebody and they're like, oh, this person would be great for such and such. And I think that is one of the strengths that we have with having such a diverse and wide team, is that it is able to give us so many different voices to pull from. And really one of the things that, you know, as somebody who's been in the gaming scene for such a long time and has played so many different mods, which, you know, Bethesda is so famous for, you know, having such open-ended modifications. So often you get the feeling that this is a mod when you hear the voices. They sound like they were recorded in a bathroom in a subway station in New York somewhere. And it's very, very clear that it's not professional. And we have such exacting audio requirements of our actors, of the way that the file cutters cut the lines, of where the pauses are, of how it syncs up with the animations, that, you know, as you saw in the gameplay video, which if you watch it on our YouTube channel with sound and everything, it's so phenomenally good. And, you know, I don't brag, but like, it's, our voice actors have done such a great job. Our animators have gotten everything synced up just so well. And it really brings that to life and makes it look professional. It looks AAA. And that's only possible because of this team.
Yeah, modding, just like video games and the voice acting industry, modding has come a long way from where it started. I mean, like even back in Oblivion and Morrowind. So now the way people run things, especially with finding talent, connecting with each other, it's almost like there's this internet mod creation, voice acting, networking that goes on that never really was a thing 10, 15 years ago. So now the expectations, what people look for, what they want to find, is much higher than it used to be. So people are ready now to kind of set the groundwork for creating what they want to create and what talent they want to find. They already have connections they can draw from.
Well, you belong to us.
The Borg will assimilate you.
Yeah, going back to what Matt was talking about, your acceptance rate as far as the casting all club is less than 5%. What are some of the reasons, aside from, you know, sounding like you're recording in a bathroom stall, you have a passion for voice acting, but not quite the equipment or setup for it? What are some of the reasons aside from that people are rejected?
I think that a lot of the recordings just sound very awkward. Like the people speaking have no self-confidence in themselves, and they're kind of just having a go and not taking it seriously.
Yeah,
hoping, having to punt, and like you say, top 5%, hundreds of auditions, only about 50 of them are going to get in any one batch. So you've got to start taking it seriously. And I think, as you say, acting out of a toilet is not acceptable. You know,
Well, there goes
About
mine.
half of us are in.
Yeah, no, our
Wes.
Our VA lead actually just said in our little chat that it's mostly sound quality, and it is because like this is not the headset for voice acting.
Right.
You really need to have actual professional equipment. But then as Ryan was saying, it also comes down to how you act and how your voice is trained. We were talking earlier about the Dunmer rasp, and so there's kind of a specific throat technique that goes into that, because if you do it for a long time, it's going to start wearing on your throat. But if you're doing it wrong, it wears on your throat right away. And our team can recognize that. They can say, you're not holding your throat in the correct technique, and here's some YouTube videos that are going to guide you kind of on how to do that, because it's very similar to Mongolian throat singing. And you need to be able to really nail that to be able to take on that kind of voice, which if you're the kind of person that can't, then cool, we have other roles that you might be able to take on. But if you're also the kind of person that can't take direction and is going to try to insist that the way you're doing it is the best way, even though we can tell that you're tearing your throat up, then we're not going to take you on the team, because you have to be able to work collaboratively with everybody else on the team, because we want this to be the best it can be.
The greatest lesson I learned coming from the theater, going into the electronic media, sitting behind a microphone with a piece of paper in my hand, was when somebody said to me, "Who are you talking to?" I was talking to the paper.
Right.
And finally figuring out that I'm talking to someone is the greatest lesson that a starting out voiceover person can use. And it's a lesson as a writer and a director myself that I've shared that with numerous people, and it really helps them get to the next level.
Acting.
I don't know if after you was.
Someone go.
I'll say as okay, yeah.
No, you go, because I've interrupted you.
Works as a critic in the auditorium and tries working with people to get their auditions up to quality so they can be a part of the team. The biggest thing is, of course, the conversationality we've been talking about, making them seem like they're an actual human being you're talking to and not just, pixels on a screen. But another interesting thing is the combat sounds that actually gets a lot of people stopped, because we take our combat sounds very seriously in Skywind, and I hope people appreciate that. When someone gets attacked, it's not just like, ugh. You actually feel like a death-curdling scream coming out of someone, like you've really been stabbed. And that goes a lot to, I think, making probably the immersion feel a lot better and just making the battle scenes, more intense and interesting. So
I remember from
along the way, basically.
You've taken my sort of thunder there by saying the key problem with a lot of these actors is that they are self-aware. You've got to lose yourself completely. That's the key thing.
Yes.
You can't, you can't, if you're voice acting in a studio in, some very loud place, you're not going to be able to lose yourself, and you're not going to be able to scream like you're going to die. You've got to be able to lose yourself,
Yeah, I remember, Wes, I think it was the second night of your class that you do, getting us to die in dramatic fashion.
Well, I do that.
It's something we practice.
That's just like in the sessions, you do the effort sounds at the end of a session, because those are vocally strenuous. The mark of a vocal director who has you do your battle sounds first is not necessarily experience, because you can really leave the voice a little bit in shreds. But it's true. You have to feel the weight of a sword if you're carrying a sword. You have to feel the oomph of a punch. When you're hitting the solar plexus, there's got to be a little bit of a, you really have to get into this. It's just as you have to be just immersed and make it just as real as anything else you do.
Going back to, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if anyone is familiar with the British TV show Extras with Ricky Gervais.
Yes.
Vaguely.
Yeah. Basically, it's an excuse to get big Hollywood actors in, and Ricky Gervais is like a fledgling actor. And he goes up to Ian McKellen and he says, have you got any tips for me? And he's like, young man, you have to pretend to be someone else. and then Ricky Gervais is like, yeah, okay, I get that, but McKellen, it's played for laughs, but McKellen is right. That's the key thing. You've got to pretend to not be yourself. You've got to forget about yourself, and the environment's got a lot to do with that.
The voice acting is the product, not you. You are
Yes.
giving something, so it's never feel it's a reflection on you as a person. If you can separate yourself from your product, from your character, that safeguards you mentally for whatever the character's going through, but also it gives you that freedom to explore. But it's
True.
it's what I've taught people. So
Bring a part of yourself if you're being absolutely
Yeah.
real. Every role.
Yeah.
We all experiences. Every experience in life will lend itself to something you're going to be doing as a character, and we all have good sides, bad sides, all these things. You've got to be able to explore and plumb those. Remember, every villain thinks that they are the hero of their own story, right? You justify these things, and you have to be able to justify that for yourself. That doesn't mean when you're done, you don't go take the hottest shower and try to cleanse that character away for good. But when you're in it, you got to be in it. You can't just wear a character like it's a jacket you throw on, but inside you're still, that's superficial. You've got to become, as far as I'm concerned, you've got to really allow yourself to feel and be and breathe and live as that character in that moment if you want to make it real.
I think there's two types of villains. There's the one you've described, and there's the other villain who is a complete psychopath who knows he's a psychopath, like Hannibal Lecter or the Joker.
Still feels
yes. Yeah, they know they're evil. They know they're an absolute degenerate or an absolute monster, but they just love it. I mean, there's a saying.
We'll tell you, a guy's got to eat.
Yeah, especially if they like eating the flesh of his enemies.
Yeah.
So,
and one of the things with really getting into these characters is you just have to resign yourself to the fact that if someone overhears you doing your combat screams, then there's a good chance they're going to call the police. Because I know I've had the experience where I've been recording at home, and then, my mother came in early and I wasn't expecting her, and she just rushes and it's like, what is going on? What is happening? And I saw the panic in her eyes, like kind of confusion of what's happening. And in that moment, I felt very vindicated that I was able to kind of induce that reaction in her in that sort of way.
That's very rewarding. If you haven't seen a mom or a cat, you haven't done a good job.
Quick roundup here. So we've had donations coming in. So anonymous $20 donation on the path to Chim. Thank you very much. A $5 donation from PETA. We know. I'm not sure what that means. Ryan Badman, thank you for the $10 donation. Isabella Summit for 20, and another anonymous donation for 20. So we're now at $5,482.22. Extremely well done. And we're running out of time here, so I did have one last question, which is something that we can get back into talking about that was mentioned earlier. When it comes to voice acting, you can hear when someone doesn't believe in themselves or believe in what they're doing. How can they get past that anxiety or that imposter syndrome and be able to step outside themselves to even be somebody else? What advice, from Wes, Liz, or Dave, and really any of you, what would you give?
Well, we're dealing with a technology where you can hear yourself back.
Yeah.
So the two things that really help are practice and actually being able to listen to your performance. And if you practice enough and you listen enough and you're critical enough, and really realistically critical enough, you'll just proceed to get better. And it's like, I can't remember who was talking about, actors who can't take direction. Well, they're going to be tough to deal with, because if you can't take direction, you're not going to be able to criticize yourself and improve yourself. But practice and really listening to yourself are two really good starts in getting better.
You're training your ear as well as your voice.
Yep.
I think also it's really important to understand your motivations. Then it gets you out of your own way, really. If you go, well, why is my character saying that? How is my character dying? Or what? I mean, I've always found that the more that I can get into what the character is about, the less I think about myself doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I lose that. sense of self.
Yeah, I mean, why does anybody ever open their mouth to say anything? There's a reason behind you saying these things. And in fact, there is a whole story there. You're a storyteller. You're not just a reader. You're not sitting down reading a book for somebody at bedtime or anything of that nature. You're not really reading. What you need to do is take those words through yourself, through your own experiences, through the emotion of the moment, and also through the motivation of what does this character want. Those words come into your eyes, but have to filter through this to come out. And if you think about it as a storyteller, as you think about it as if you are there in that moment as that character, it's going to be a lot less stilted, a lot less reading, a lot more natural.
Now, see, you've just heard the two different sides of the acting coin. I work from the outside, which is listening to myself, which is the technique, and Liz, and to some extent Wes, come from the inside of the motivation of what makes the character do. Now, if you get a good combination of those two approaches, you're probably going to be all right.
We've got you coming or going, basically.
Yeah. It was always a
When
thing
it comes
that
to
if you wanted to be an actor or go and get over your self-doubt or your worries, you first have to learn to be okay with criticizing yourself and your own performance, and then you can move on to allowing to take critique from others once you feel safe. So in the beginning, I started out completely self-taught because I didn't know anybody who was interested in acting. There was theater school. There was theater at my school, but I had a lot of very judgmental, cranky kind of bully guys at my school that if you were in the theater club or anything, you were the nerd. You were the guy that got made fun of.
Did you go to my school?
No.
No, he went to all of our schools, aka
every school. But I always admired them from afar, and I would help out behind the stage, and I was always interested, but primarily I was studying to be an artist. After I got out of school and I was in a place where nobody knew me, I was in an apartment in another state that I'd never been in. Nobody around knew me for miles or anything like that. I just had nothing but time. So I started to record by like reading out of a book, and then like hearing my own voice by recording it back using Audacity, and then saying the different characters in the book, trying to do a different voice for each one and remember how I did it. Because I knew I liked listening to audiobooks. And once I got comfortable with that and understanding that I could push myself and I could push that voice, because there were just some voices I wanted to do, but no matter how hard I tried, I could not do it because I didn't have the muscle. I didn't have the strength or the confidence.
Yeah.
So eventually, once I felt comfortable enough with myself that I felt like I wanted to know if I was any good, because I wanted somebody who was talented to tell me, I put it on the internet. And there will be people who will give you opinions, whether they're, experienced or not. And once you get used to hearing the good and the bad, what's that?
There are no opinions on the internet. What are you talking?
So that's how I started. And it eventually, I started getting worried that people would, come at you. But once you've tried so many characters and you've heard your voice so many times and you've done this over and over again, where you've learned how to use this instrument and how to work with it, you forget about what you sound like and you start trying to make it sound like the character. And you're more worried about how different can you make it sound from yourself, where you don't even hear yourself anymore. You hear the character. And from then you can just go off with it because you're no longer thinking about yourself. You have to take away the worry and self-preservation about your reputation, all of that out, and just focus on what the material is. And once you've gotten to that mentally, you're good. Sorry, go ahead.
Here's what I respect about you, Daniel. What I respect about you is that I've been listening to you. You started putting this stuff online years ago. And I've listened to you over the years, getting better and better, more subtle, more nuanced, more bringing more personality, more emotion into the roles. You've gotten better and better. And the fact of the matter is you never gave up. You keep going. I'm sure as everybody who's doing voice acting, you're going to run into a ton of rejection. You're going to be rejected more times than you're accepted, but you don't let that stop you. You've listened. You've trained your ear, you've learned from what you've heard, and you keep going. If you want to be a voice actor, voice act. Whether you're doing it into your phone, whether you're doing it into your computer, whether you're doing it anywhere, whether you're sitting in a car and talking to yourself, you continue to do these things. You continue to work your craft. You're going to get paid for it. You keep pushing yourself. Also, look into the different ways, Daniel, that you can market yourself. Other people have done it. Follow their path until your path is your own. You do not give up, and that's the key. You keep going.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that theater is a wonderful way to, you know, just kind of get your juices going. And you know, community theater, or it doesn't matter what it is. And but that, I think, is a wonderful way to gain confidence, because you have to get up in front of people, you've got to develop a character, and it's a wonderful learning tool. So I
think
would encourage people to do anything that they could in theater.
Sure. Pertaining to the question, I heard the phrase imposter syndrome. I hate that phrase, imposter syndrome. You know, imposter syndrome is just a natural part of being inexperienced at something. Anything, you know, you could be a sports player stepping onto the first cup final you played. You feel imposter syndrome. You think, why am I here? You're here because you're good enough to be here. And, you know, as you get more experience, as you get better chops, that feeling of imposter syndrome will disappear because you're getting more experienced.
And I also think like remembering to play, like to play with it is also really important. I feel like Wes, you kind of drove that home in the class. Like remember what first made you want to be a voice actor. Like I remember sitting with my little like camcorder, like voice thing, pretending to be on a radio show or like stuff like that. So like tapping back into that sort of childlike playfulness, which, you know, I did the theater training, I did all that, and it's like you get to this point sometimes of like being so perfectionistic that you could get too in your head, and then you're like, so I don't know, just being more playful. I just think that's
when we were kids and we would imagine things, we imagined them in such vivid detail. We would go to these worlds in our heads. Like I say, you take the cushions off the couch and throw them on the floor, and those are stones, and the floor is lava. You believe you'll burn if you jump off those things as a kid. Let the child inside you come alive, because this job that we have is fun. It's a lot of hard work, and you've got to work to get to the places you want to be, but it's still, we do it because there's joy and we love it.
Start now.
Amen.
And a lot of people kind of get worried about, oh, I need to have the mic, or I need to have the setup, and yes, that is important, but to build that confidence and the experience, just start now. Like, but get a book, read it out loud. If it's just to yourself or somebody else, find a USB mic and go onto some like casting call websites and find things you can audition for. Start now, because if you want to do this, there is no time like the present. And it took me a long time to realize, time flies by. I want to do this. I'm doing this now. And I think once you're in it, you go.
I think everybody deals with crises of confidence at different parts of our lives, particularly when you want something so bad and you can't get it as quickly as you want. It's easy to give in. And there's no day that goes by that I don't wish that I had kept writing and acting in the 10 years that I vanished into corporate bullshit life. Don't do it. Don't give up. Keep fighting, keep whatever, because every now and then you'll find the thing that becomes your thing in the way that I didn't think that I'd be sitting here with all of you or Wes or anybody else, 2 years ago, before finding this community, this amazing, beautiful, open and loving community. This community of gamers are some of the best people that I've ever had the great pleasure to meet. And considering what we do through Fallout for Hope and getting together almost $500,000 raised for charity, we're not just having fun anymore. It's about making a difference.
And following your joy at the same time. You can follow your joy and make a difference in this world at the same time. And in fact, if by doing what we do, we're able to help people at the same time, I don't think there's any better reason to be here on this planet.
No. One last thing. So we had one last shout out. So Raptor 788, thank you very much for the $50 donation. Much love from the Skywind team. So we're going to close on a Sheo off. So we've had a request for a impromptu scenario that's going to put Wes. It's going to put Wes, Daniel, and Ryan.
Oh,
what?
Oh, look at him getting ready.
We're putting
going down.
This is Wes, Daniel, and Ryan as Sheogoraths trapped at a bus stop, having an argument with each other.
I just want to say, I feel like Wes has a performance-enhancing prop.
That's literally has the water.
You mean this?
Oh, that's not.
So Sheogoraths at the bus stop and go.
I don't know how long it's going to take for this bus to arrive. Surely it's not being run by Jiggaleg because it's not on time.
Yeah, second Ireland, it's second raining.
Brilliant.
No cue cards. No, go ahead.
You too. You first.
Right. Cheese.
Oh yeah, I bought my tickets a few days ago. I've been wondering when they're going to get here.
I'm supposed to be in Kilkenny 2 hours ago.
All I know is that I was in the bathroom just a few minutes ago. There was so much cheese on the floor, and it's all filthy cheese. It's the most disgusting cheese I've ever seen. Delightful. It all.
It was bloody Stilton.
Cheese on the bathroom floor. Wow.
I love floor cheese.
Gio, what's your obsession with cheese then, lad? What's wrong with ham?
It was one line. It was one line I said about 15 years ago. And no one will
bloody live it down.
No.
There's cheese everywhere. Everybody wants it all the time.
Nobody wants my cheese.
I know about cheese. I read about it on that bathroom wall.
You smelt it from a mile away, boy.
Well, can you keep it down a bit there, lads? You're making my teeth itch. You know
Sorry,
what
my granny's trying to sleep next door.
Do you know what makes your teeth itch? I'll tell you what makes your teeth itch. Those little mints they have there in those white receptacles in the restroom. I love those mints. They're fantastic. I always try to pop them in any time I can.
I haven't been to a restroom for a year. I've got terrible incontinence, I have.
The indigestion. I hate the indigestion. Or maybe I don't. You never know.
Yes.
Perhaps what we need to do is rip out your bowels. Well, take out your entrails, skip rope with them. That'll make you all feel regular. Once again. We can take
Squeeze them
turns.
out like a sausage.
Which one of us first? I'll take a little bit of your entrails. Or maybe some of yours.
Oh, can I have your bladder, please, lad?
Jesus.
Please, can you three get together and just do an entire skit? That would be like, put that into the world. That would be amazing.
It'll be absolute madness.
It's the Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other.
Oh God, it is.
Into the Sheoverse.
We are now more than out of time. So before we go, a couple of things. So Voiceapalooza is going to be going on all month long. Go to falloutforhope.com and click right on Voiceapalooza, although I think Wes and I have now voiceapalooza.com. You go there as well. It'll now link you properly. The schedule is up. We have, Wes, some unbelievable, awe-inspiring talent this year. We have double the people involved as far as voice actors go that are coming out to play with us, including some really legendary, surprising people that we haven't talked about yet.
And by the way, if anybody is in the DMV area around Virginia tomorrow, we're going to actually be doing a Voiceapalooza, mini Voiceapalooza with his all bot scripts done by Pete and Patty. And that is going to be done from a place called Toshi Station in Springfield, Virginia, where it's free comic book day. We're going to be there from 10 a.m. till about 4, and we're going to go live at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And it's going to be me, Mike Rawson from Fallout, all the ghouls, Gob and Colin Moriarty, and John St. John, who is Duke Nukem, is going to join us there live. We're all going to be there. We're going to hang out. We'll sign autographs. We're going to do a little mini Voiceapalooza live from Toshi Station tomorrow. And then we're going to be at Echo Base in Centerville on Sunday. for also Free Comic Book Day. So we may be going on and doing a little Q&A on that day as well. So we've got so many wonderful events coming up. There's going to be a radio program mid-month. That's right, a noir program that is being written by Kenneth, along with a little help, maybe from me, not as much, but also Emma Pagliarillo, who wrote the Fallout 4 and the Writers Guild. They're going to have all the writers, a writer's room. They're going to get there with Kenneth, and they're going to put their brains together on another panel. But the radio program, you're not going to believe the people who are joining us for that one. It's going to be, I will tell you this, you will see the first ever and maybe only team up of the Silver Shroud and Nick. Stephen Russell's going to join me, and we're going to reprise our roles, and it's going to be a full-on radio program done live, just like in the old days. So it's
Foley
either
effects and all.
One thing you have are a giant train wreck. Either way, it's going to be entertaining.
You got the Silver Shroud cap and overcoat or anything like that?
Wes has those.
Where?
I will be very disappointed if Wes doesn't wear them on stream that day. Liz, where can people find you and follow you?
Well, what I'm doing now is I'm writing a series of children's books. I've finished 2 out of 3, yes. And I'm working with a literary agent manager out of LA. So I've been pretty busy doing that. And then I just finished just a marathon animation that I'm not allowed to talk about, but
Those pesky NDAs.
Good on you.
Yeah, out of Canada. It was wonderful.
That's awesome.
Good on you, eh?
Yeah.
And David, what have you been up to? What are you doing that's exciting? Where can people follow you?
I'm not doing too much exciting, but at least I get to live in my little voice booth a lot. I do a lot of book narrations. I do a lot of corporate training. I coach executives. I help them write their speeches. I help their presentation skills. I'm writing and directing a bunch of corporate training films and medical videos and things like that. So I don't get, unless the movies come to town and I'm lucky enough to grab a day player or two, something like that. Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. Look at David Deboy. You'll see some of the things I'm doing. My website's daviddeboy.com, which needs to be updated. I think I still have hair on it. I'm not sure.
You do, but it's very nice, David.
Thank you. I still have it. It's in a box in the back room. I can put it on anytime I need it.
Every Christmas time, you have a massive outbreak of crabs.
Yes, you should try the expression. I wrote a song 40 years ago called Crabs for Christmas.
Oh, no.
And yes. And it's been a perennial musical hit. So I do concerts around Christmas time. I just wrote a book. I can't find it right now. But I just wrote a book, published it last year, and it did very well. It's called I Gave Baltimore Crabs for Christmas. And it's a niche.
I'm noticing a little bit of a trend here, David.
How exactly were the crabs?
What exactly is going on in that Cludio?
If you have to ask, I can't tell you. I'm very sorry. But thanks for inviting me to this, guys. This has been great. It's very nice to get to meet you all. And thanks to all the folks who are actually sending in money to the organization. It's just been a wonderful day.
We're now at $5,537.22. And Team Skywind, big round of applause. Big round of applause in chat from all of the amazing, incredible, ongoing forever work that you all are doing, chipping away at this. Really awesome. As far as where people can stay in touch with you, and also if they want to get involved in either design, 2D, 3D design, or voice acting, where do they go and what do they do?
So our site is TESR Skywind.com. That's for the Elder Scrolls Renewal Project.
which Skywind and Skyblivion are part of. You can volunteer there. We do most everything through our Discord, so that's a great way to interact with the community, find out how to get involved. If you don't think you have applicable skills, you do. You can learn to be a file cutter. We have a connection to the Arcane University, so we're always happy to help people learn how to
They're
get involved
fantastic.
with Creation Kit and things like that. So yeah, that's the best way. Check out our Discord, come to our site, put in an application, and we'd love to meet you.
Awesome. Well, we are out of time, so hold tight here. We're going to switch over to the ending stream, and then if you can, hang on, because we're going to pass the party on to someone else who's currently streaming right now, who's going to be doing some fundraising through Elder Scrolls Online, and who's been raising quite a bit for us. So please stick around, drop raids in chat when we switch over. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you all very much for joining us tonight. And this is just the very beginning of a beautiful month of doing some good for people that we love and lost.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank
all.
you.
Thanks,
This is
everybody.
amazing. Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Good
Ciao,
night, all.
ciao.